Okay, I have a couple additional messages as I go about my day, because I recorded this message from this morning, and it was basically about the devil energy and like, what are you going to pick? Are you repeatedly going to go back to the things that comfort you even though they're not good for you when your life crumbles? Are you repeatedly going to try to grasp for control during a time where you have to basically give it over to the universe and trust that the things that leave your life and the things that come into your life are meant to be on some timetable that's outside of your control? Or will you try to force things that don't belong because that's how we've done things before? The old ways of maneuvering different things are not going to be successful at this time. And I talked about it kind of creating this sense of solitude because nobody's going to babysit you. Those choices are yours. But the other side of that I didn't talk about in the message was that your whole life is an intimate conversation with the universe. Sometimes you can be surrounded by people and feel alone because those people are on a different wavelength or vibration than you, and they don't understand what you're going through. If you're a spiritual person having a spiritual awakening or a spiritual tower where things are crumbling, it doesn't make sense because it's beyond the physical eye. It's beyond what meets the eye. And you can't necessarily expect the people, the other humans with their own lives, their own egos, their own happenings, to be able to process or understand that for you. But who can is the universe, basically, and angels and God and your guides. And it's hard if you've never relied on that or given that a chance in your life to carry you through, to have faith that that's enough. But it's the same way that you've always reached out for the devil energy, because that's where like excuses are accepted. That's where avoidance is welcomed. It's a place where you go to continue to remain stuck. And the forces that are able, non-physically, the non-physical forces of the universe that are able to support and protect you during a time of radical transformation where you feel overwhelmed and like you don't have control, they need your consent in order to lift you up and help you, just like the devil energy needs consent in order to remain in your life. That's the nature of free will as a human. What you pursue and what you choose is what you're gonna get. But if you've never chosen, the high road in certain challenging circumstances in your life, you're creating a lot more discomfort and pain and hardship because it seems like the comfortable way, or it seems like the way that it has to be. But what I wanted to add on to the message from this morning is that you do need to give permission for, basically through prayer. Like, show me if this way of doing things is not meant for me, show me what is meant for me. If this relationship is not meant for me, then I ask for, divine intervention to come in and gracefully remove these things from my life so that I can level up, so that I can free myself from what's been going wrong, so that I can create something that I've never experienced before, even though it may be foreign, because I know that what's happening is not meant for me, and I can feel that what's trying to leave my life needs something else to come in and replace it, but I don't know what that looks like. I've never done that before. When I've tried to do that, maybe there was an element of still reaching out for this level of control or devil energy, so that we denied the nature of the change in its totality. We can't ever see or grasp anything in totality. So you have to be able to let things continue to show you what they are. Changes don't present themselves start, middle, and end. It begins by things going wrong. The sense of misalignment that can arise within our lives, within ourselves, feeling like we're out of balance with what's happening around us, so that we're out of control. That's the other invisible hand of the universe coming in to take those things away, because what you want doesn't involve them. What you ultimately want at a spiritual soul level, based on your life's mission and your life's path, doesn't involve certain things. And when the universe comes to say, there's a tower moment, these things are crumbling, there is a way to exit out of that chaos into a sense of faith, but you have to know that it's going to require a level of detachment. It's very counterintuitive in many ways. Counterintuitive to the way we've done things before. Counterintuitive to the way we've done things before. Another thing I'm getting with this energy, I woke up today and I've got like calluses on my hands and they're all peeling, and it wasn't like that before. And I'm being returned to the snake imagery of death and rebirth because the snake sheds its skin. What I'm getting with that is that if I see these little peeled up moments of skin on my hand, my inclination would be to, like, you know, rip it off and pick at it and peel it off. But that would be me trying to take the changes that are trying to happen in my life and in this process of death and rebirth and force them, you know, rip it off before it's ready, or intervene in some way so that I am in control of how this shedding is taking place. And that's not really the best way to do that. Calluses are functional, right? The skin peeling, I can, you know, potentially like clean up my peeled hands and, like, I don't know, take an emery board or like buff it down. But when you take like a hangnail or something, you try to pull it off, it's uncomfortable. You're gonna peel up more than needs to, and these things happen, they flake off like in energy cycles in a systematic way, because if I were to peel it up, I'd get to, like, you know, raw skin that's not ready to be exposed to the light of day. And it's making me think about how spiritual transitions are really hard on the human body because it's a higher frequency of energy. If you're trying to charge a battery with more frequency than it's used to handling, then it will start to short circuit. So it calls in the need to return. When you're untethered spiritually, you don't know what's going on, there's things happening in your life, you have to return to the body, care for your vessel, because that's going to help you, even in your mind, even in your thoughts, to not feel, you know, like you're crazy or like you're out of control. It's going to be the thing that helps you actually do what you need to do, which is more so about letting things happen than doing at all. But it's like, if all the skin came off, if the snake just shed its skin in one complete go, it would be, that's like too painful, too jarring, right? There's the sensitivity under the layers that are shedding because it's new, you know? I'm also getting the idea around regeneration of skin cells. Like, they say that you have a completely new skin every 7 years because things replace themselves. Even if you have scars or tattoos or things like this, the skin that exists in those places, it will still regenerate itself. It's that the body carries a memory with scar tissues so that you might be able to see those things still. However, there's still a regeneration that's natural, and you can't necessarily speed it up or slow it down. It's like, if there's a new, this is kind of gross, sorry, this is a very bodily type of sequence of metaphors, but I mean, it's just because I think we need to exist more firmly within the body to be able to weather the storm right now. If you lost a toenail, like if you stubbed your toe, or if, like, I don't know, somebody drove over your foot or something awful like that, I hope that hasn't happened to anybody. It happened to me one time, but the toenail that's new will kind of start to grow and it will edge the old one off of the toe. Okay, so it can't come off before it's ready, or else that would be very painful. But if that were happening, maybe a person would be like picking at it, trying to get it off, because it's like, ugh, this is gonna fall off anyway. And yeah, I guess you can rip the band-aid off sometimes, rip the toenail off, ew. But it's gonna lead to more pain. So the message I'm getting around this is, like, don't force these things to happen at a different rate than they're trying to happen, because you're gonna expose yourself to more pain. Again, it's like wanting to speed things up, but also wanting to slow things down. And going back to the message from the video that's uploading right now around the fact that, like, if somebody's being evicted and their house is being repossessed and all their belongings are being carted out, and this is not something that they chose, this is something that's happening to them, really it's happening for them, because divine judgment's being served on whatever it is that's not, you know, meant to be in the life right now, in our lives. You could be clinging, you know, to the old toenail, and it's like, there's a new one under there, let it go. Your body's trying to regenerate and restore a healthy toenail, and the other one is not doing any functional thing. It's not even aesthetically serving you. It doesn't look good. Let it go. You can't sit in the house. I mean, you can, but at some point they're going to be like, it's time. You need to get up and go. And what I said in the other clip, which I guess if I do end up posting these little blurbs, I'll post this one with the one that I was recording in the car before. But it's basically like a time to ask for assistance, because even if you've never asked for divine assistance before, or you haven't believed in it, you're still getting some type of assistance just from the enabling energies or the low vibrational energies, when you deny that to yourself, because it's either one or the other. You can't not be a spiritual being because you're a soul having a human experience, even if you've always seen yourself as just a human. So if a human who's having a spiritual experience, because we all are, with, you know, in this energetic world, if you're not choosing like faith or support from like an angelic perspective, then you are choosing low vibrational energy, because it's what people default into. It's what we end up choosing to avoid those parts of ourselves, because sometimes what I'm also getting is that like the life that we're being drawn to, the things that we have the potential to do if we were to align with a higher calling within our soul, that has to do with like who you've been in past lives, what you're capable of, the things that make you different from the people around you. We could be at a point right now where we're saying like, how can this be my destiny? Because I feel like I'm so far away from that. Why am I being called to do these things when I've come so far down this other road? And then it feels insurmountable, because it's like I've come so far down this other road so that it is impossible for me to go back up it. It's impossible for me to completely change, you know, these things about myself. But the universe is showing us again and again, it's not impossible. By very nature, by the very fact that you're even seeing these other potentials, even though they're, you know, they might be met with some denial around how feasible they are in terms of actualizing these things in our lives or welcoming in these changes. The fact that you can see them at all means that they're for you. And I'm not talking about the things that are, you know, the things that won't leave you alone, like controlling obsessive thoughts around addictions or wanting to shut things out and go on default mode. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the things that are the other side of that. Like, if I were to give up this habit, if I were to not be in this relationship, if I were to walk away from this unhealthy thing that's keeping me stuck, or this combination of things that's keeping me stuck, then what would the other side of it look like? The universe is trying to show you that, trying to give you a way out. It's just about what you're gonna pick. The devil, or, you know, the support of the universe. The devil, and I talked about this when I talked about entities latching on to people. A lot of people have attachments, and you don't really have to be like, it's a little gremlin, you know, or like possession. I don't even want to go into that. Just see it as energy that doesn't belong to you, like heavy baggage weighing you down. It could come in the form of many things, and it could be as a result of many different things. But completely lost my train of thought. Those things need your energy in order to sustain themselves, because they're energetic leeches, right? If there's something that attaches to somebody else, it's because it's tried to create a unified subset of energy field within God's source energy that fuels everybody, the humans, because we're in charge of this layer of the reality quilt on Earth, in this 3D reality as we know it. We are the ones that can pull energy through in a conscious way. We're connected to the spirits, but we're also of and on Earth. We have physical bodies, physical minds, and the ability to move physical matter around us. But you're going to be a conscious creator and a spiritual nature in your life if you can partner with energy to be able to fuel your actions with energetic intention. Those things need consent. And sometimes there's implicit consent, sometimes there's implied consent. A lot of the issues that I have with like technology and stuff, like when you agree to all these different like disclosures, if you download an app and there's all this small text and you're like, scroll down to the bottom, agree, you don't know what you turn yourself over to. You know, maybe it says the camera's always going to be on and it's going to be taking photos of your face that get sent to the artificial intelligent algorithm that dictates how this app is going to function. You know, people don't really read the fine print on things. And that can happen in our lives when we make different arrangements with people, and there's some unspoken stuff, like karmically, like energy exchanges can dictate how you give up and make yourself vulnerable to different kinds of energy attachment. And the devil energy is the same way. Like, it relies on people choosing it because they're not ready to not need it. It is vice energy. It is like the thing that's going to be like, hey, you don't want to level up or evolve. That's okay. I'm always here for you. You know, the good old reliable, like, things that keep us stuck, like that unified subset of energy field, that's not going to be where you get your divine inspiration or your good ideas from. So if you've been living in that for a long time, codependent patterns, habits, ways of being, you're not going to feel like it's possible to have this way of creating newness or being a vessel that new ideas and new things and solutions can come from. You're not used to carrying that role because your energy has to expand in order to let that come through. And you have to stop connecting with the thing, the devil energy, the patterns, the ways that, you know, whatever it is, it's different for everybody. Everybody's got certain different kinds of self-limiting things that we choose, you know, our demons. Everybody's got them or has had them. And in order to release them and bring in something else, like there's a limited way of life when you choose those things, but they're reliable. There's an unlimited bond that can be forged with co-creational energy. And again, I'm getting this idea of like, if that's what I'm meant to do, then why am I here? Because of the big transitions that are happening right now energetically. A lot of people are like waking up to different ways of being, different ways of thinking. And I'm thinking about how people literally hate capitalism, and people are seeing kind of the country and the enslavement for what it is, you know? Like capitalism, for instance, relies on poverty to enable its success at the upper levels. That's intense, you know? And people kind of describe all of these different things that they don't like about life when really all they're talking about are these bigger structures that keep us stuck, that people are in agreement with. And I don't mean they agree with it, but I mean we all spend our energy feeding a system that ultimately doesn't serve us or give back to us with the type of allegiance that we, you know, pay into it, which is why I've been having, you know, thoughts and ideas about like breaking out of systems that are stuck to like radical degrees of like getting a bunch of people that you love and trust and are like-minded and want to do the same thing, moving out to the country, buying land, growing food, and not needing to rely on certain things. There's a lot of people, particularly in my generation, who are like, that's not so far out. Like, that's not so anti-establishment. That's investing in your own health. And if you desire to have children, their future, you know, showing them a world where they can kind of create their own magic and not need to be like health is wealth, but also you can be rich in idea. Like our whole version of wealth and material gain is a wounded masculine because of what I was talking about yesterday with lion spirit. It's about greed and accolades? Titles. It's about titles. It's about having things. There's this really gross display of wealth that's really skewed in American culture in particular. This like excessive opulence, all of those things don't matter, right? You can't take it with you. Your time spent being a good person, connecting with nature and being like idea-based and mission-based, that's far more wealthy, regardless of how much money you have, than any amount of money. Because a lot of people too with wealth, I find that the wealthiest people can be the stingiest, because when you have a lot, you have a lot to lose. But that's a tightly grasped way of handling and managing abundance and wealth, instead of being giving, instead of circulating, you know, empowering the people around you. I'm not saying you make money in order to give it away, but there's this reciprocity within the way a person lives if they know that their value and their worth doesn't come from material wealth, and they feel supported by the universe because they're in alignment with a higher calling that doesn't keep them trapped in cycles that relies on becoming overwhelmed and going to devil energy. There is a cycle between the tower and the devil energy. You always, at everything that goes wrong in your life, at every crossroads, at every opportunity to grow and bloom, you have one of two choices. And I'm getting that thing of like, there are two wolves inside of everyone. Which one do you feed? And this is a weird thing. I actually heard this the other day. I was thinking about that wolf thing the other day. I was thinking about how like, you can't... duality, right? You're human, the devil is very seductive, natural energy. Everybody has dealt with things that they want to do that they probably shouldn't do, but they do anyway. It starts at a very young age. It's 11:11 right now on the clock. But so I'm saying, like, the devil wolf will die if you don't give it a little snack, which is strange. It's a weird thing to say, but it's about what, you know, balancing of the scales. How can you see and embrace your shadow for what it is, but, you know, choose to be of the light? Are you of the light, or are you of the dark, or are you of the light? Are you of the fear, or are you of the love? Because a lot of people think like, I'm not a fearful person. I'm not afraid of whatever, I just don't care. Like, apathy is a form of fear, because if you don't care to evolve, it's because, you know, you don't necessarily believe that you can. You've made up your mind about certain things, or you've allowed for societal conditioning to tell you that certain things are or are not possible, when the universe is shaking the trunk of the tree that you as a little monkey are up in. You're hanging out in a tree, the universe is shaking it, and you're saying, I don't care, this isn't happening. But the universe is saying, no, it is. Like, you're being shaken out of this tree. On the way down, are you going to catch the hand of the devil, or are you going to let the fall take you to a new place? In the new place, the tree isn't being shaken. This is happening on a collective level with collective energies, and it's manifesting individually for different people, depending on how much we've denied ourselves throughout our life. How much personal work you've done to clear out the shadow aspects of yourself are going to dictate how radically this is shaking up your life right now. It's happening collectively on a grander scale, because the things like this toxic cycle of the monkey being like, I guess I'll just climb right back up into the tree, and then the universe shakes it out again, and it's like, no, it just climbs right back on up, because it doesn't, you know, I'm seeing again Plato's allegory of the cave. It's like, if it doesn't ever want to step out of that cycle because it doesn't think there's anything else beyond that cycle, and in some ways there isn't. Ouroboros, snake energy again with my peeling hands, letting it flake off. But circles, Ouroboros, snake eating its own tail. Circles, all life is growth, all growth is circular, all circular is spiral. When you're going around in circles and circles and we feel like nothing's happening, and even if we're trying to do things better or differently, and we're still kind of, you know, conceding to some of our vices, blah, 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 you're still ascending, because it's not. From an aerial view, it looks like you're going around in circles. From multiple different angles, you would be able to see, I'm seeing my twisties with this, just like different kinds of ways that energy expresses itself. It's actually a spiral that's evolving through time. But how tightly that's wound, right? The speed, the velocity, the variables of your own ascension, how you let your energy either go with the flow of the universe trying to expand and ascend, or how tightly you cling to the lower rungs of the evolution is up to you and what you've been through and your own consciousness level and ability to kind of break down the little walls that have partitioned your disbelief. Which basket do you put your eggs in? If you've been ruled by your self-limiting devil-like type of energies, the things that keep you stuck, then that's where you've gotten like power from. And I'm not saying it's not a powerful energy. It's less powerful than the love and the light, but it's still very powerful. So you've been validated in saying, this isn't what I'm supposed to do. But if it's resistant, if you have to employ a lot of resistance to opening yourself up and looking at new things, then that's not being in the flow. I think I'm starting to just repeat myself and kind of go a little overboard with it now. Please don't worry about how safe I am when I'm driving and I'm talking into my phone, because I'm fully focused on the road. I just glance at the camera every now and then. I'm fully focused on the road, but I probably shouldn't record videos when I'm driving. I just wanted to get that out as well. All right, I have another idea, so I'm going to share it as well. This can work in really complicated ways. So the issue with getting the mind, the ego, trying to foresee things that we can't have access to yet within divine timing, we're not meant to see the whole picture. You're incapable of seeing the whole picture. There could be different people involved in one situation. For instance, if there are two people that are trying to make a relationship work, one person's devil energy could be wanting the other person to change. That's not theirs to control. The other person doesn't want to change, but the desire for the first person to try to get the other person to change, that's keeping that person stuck. If the first person had the personal power and strength to say, I'm going to choose me, even if that means leaving you behind, then the second person would feel like, oh, this person isn't the pressure that I feel. If the pressure is still there when that person leaves, the pressure is about something else within them that they need to change. And if that person rises to the challenge and changes and makes those changes, then the first person would potentially be in a healthier place anyway, because they're not codependent, to be able to come back to that person. So there can be issues within dynamics where there's multiple points of devil energy or fixation or codependency at play. And so it's not going to be, a lot of the times we say, I can't do what I need to do because this person is making it difficult. They keep me stuck. They're the reason why this isn't working. That's never the answer, because you're putting the answer outside of yourself. You're making it something that you don't have access to, when all that we can ever have access to is our own ability to change and react to things, even if people come at you or present with resistance and negativity and unwillingness. That would still be a point that you can choose to say, okay, if my light or optimism or choice to not engage with this anymore means interacting with you less or enabling you less, because I can no longer ignore what I'm seeing around the situation, then so be it. You have to trust that what falls away as a result of that mindset adjustment around being truthful with yourself and the people around you about what's not working, those things are meant to go and leave your life. It doesn't mean that the person who may walk away from somebody who's unwilling to change, they set themselves free from the addictive devil energy of trying to be like, I believe in you. I believe in you so much. I want you to change so much. But if you don't want to, then now I'm the unhealthy one for sticking around, for forcing. Everybody does have free will. It doesn't mean that person's meant to stay stuck, but it means that journey for them to go on to become unstuck is theirs and theirs alone. And the person who would walk away, it doesn't mean they're not going to have another, companion or ability to kind of meet in this space of healthy, healed relationship. But sometimes if you want a healthy, healed relationship and you're not getting it with one person, you have to be open to having it with a different person, or you have to walk away for, that person to get the space and time alone that they need without your influence, and for you to heal, to be able to come back together in a different space. That's just one example of how this can work in different systems of energy where people are interconnected, because we all are. Nobody's story is simply their own. We all have, characters within our lives that play different roles for our learning and for our own growth and evolution. And the way we navigate those, it says it's that the way that we navigate those relationships, decisions, how we handle other people, that speaks to us of how willing we are to change and heal and grow. And again, with the snake skin, like I've got these calluses, these little moments. It's not super easy to see, but I have them on like every finger pad, every section of every finger. It doesn't mean that I can't be tender with myself and with my body as my body changes. I'm not saying like my skin peeling off of my hands is necessary for me to become the next version of myself. It's a metaphor. It's a physical manifestation of the snake skin and the shedding of layers. It doesn't mean I can't, touch them up and peel them back a little bit to assist in that journey. The snake doesn't just sit there and let the skin fall off. It wriggles out. But it can't do that unless the skin's ready to come off.